My name is Megan Fenton, and I'm your worship associate this morning. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 191, Now I Recall My Childhood in Your Gray Hymnal.
I'm going to play this one all the way through.
She, her. I am Vice President of the Board of Trustees. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley. Whether you have been with this congregation a decade or more, or this is your first time visiting, we welcome you. Whatever the faith and traditions of your past, we welcome you. Whatever your theological stance, we welcome you. Whoever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. Whatever your heritage, we welcome you. We respectfully acknowledge the territory on which our church building sits as the ancestral homelands of the Munsee, Lenape, and Wappinger peoples. We have a couple of announcements. In the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, the Welcoming Congregation Program is a volunteer program for congregations that want to take intentional steps to be more welcoming and inclusive of people of all sexual orientations and gender identities. We have been a welcoming congregation for more than 20 years. Last Sunday, at our mid-year congregational meeting, we approved the following resolution unanimously. The Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley affirmatively supports the process of applying for renewal of our status within the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations as a welcoming congregation. We view this as an ongoing commitment to learning, growth, and action. After the service, please stop by the social justice table at the Fellowship Hall to make phone calls and send emails to our elected officials regarding the SAVE Act, which would make it harder for millions of Americans to register to vote or update their voter registration information. Also available will be postcards to send to Congressperson Mike Lawler, urging him to press the president to remedy the executive orders that have suspended all refugee processing and travel arrangements for vetted Afghan allies. For the most up-to-date information on these and other topics, please refer to our weekly e-newsletter and check our website frequently. And please join us for conversation after the service. If you're present in the sanctuary, please join us for coffee and conversation in Fellowship Hall. If you're watching the live stream, the link for our Zoom coffee hour can be found in the Saturday reminder in your email. If you're just recently joining us and would like to receive our weekly e-news, please email us at uucroton@gmail.com with your name, and we'll make sure you're added to our e-news list. Also, please remember to silence your cell phones at this time. Once again, we welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley.
Today, we welcome our guest minister, Anna Levy-Lyons. She is a writer, spiritual student, and teacher, composer, and former minister of First Unitarian in Brooklyn. She is currently a rabbinical student at the LF Ordination Program and holds a Master of Divinity from the University of Chicago Divinity School. Anna is the author of No Other Gods, The Politics of the Ten Commandments, and the forthcoming book, The Secret Despair of the Secular Left. She lives on the Upper West Side with her husband Jeff and 14-year-old twins. To receive her newsletter and find out about upcoming events and the release of her new book, email connect@annalevylyons.com. You'll also be able to chat with her at the coffee hour, and you can give her your information then. You can also find her on Substack at annalevylyons.substack.com. Welcome, Anna.
Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life journey, you are welcome here.
We now invite the children of our congregation to join Jane Podell, our DRE, and ring our bells 8 times in honor of our shared values and principles. Today's chalice lighting is from Sarah York. We receive fragments of holiness, glimpses of eternity, brief moments of insight. Let us gather them up for the precious gifts that they are, and renewed by their grace, move boldly into the unknown. Now please join me in reciting our unison affirmation. The words are in your order of service. Inspired by love, our mission is to seek our true nature, connect deeply and openly, and act for justice. We will now sing the children out to their religious education. We come together in community to share with one another, to support one another, and to celebrate with one another. We bear sacred witness to each other in this honored ritual. As we begin, we know that there are both great sorrows and great joys in this world that must be acknowledged as well. We light our first candle to honor those in pain, victims of violence and war and oppression all around the world. We light a second candle because we understand that amidst all of that pain, there is also celebration and joy in our world. We honor that joy and sorrow are woven together. For some of us here today, this has been a week of life-changing joy that needs to be lifted up in this worship. For others, this has been a time of deep pain and sorrow that needs to be shared to make the burden lighter. If this has been such a time for you, I invite you to come forward to light a candle and to briefly tell us your joy or sorrow. You may also raise your hand in silent acknowledgement of your joys and sorrows, and we will light a candle for you.
So hi, I'm Susie Dugas. I wasn't coming up because of this, but I am seeing the doctor Wednesday, so it might come off. But Caroline couldn't come to church today because she was exposed to COVID, because both Carl Grimm and Cornelia Cotton have COVID. So keep them in your thoughts.
Hi, I'm Betsy Tomic, and I just returned from a 3.5-week trip to France. I did it because I'm just retired, so I have the time, and it was really great. I was alone some of the time, and that was interesting, and I was with a 92-year-old friend of the family a part of the time, and I did art and music and history, and also went to the local swimming pool with my friend. So I got engaged in the day-to-day life in France, and it was really an eye-opening vacation. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Maria, and I'm so glad I'm here speaking, because I was afraid I would implode anymore for waiting to speak to you. But later this week, I'll be gratefully getting away from this brutal winter into a warmer climate. I'll be taking off for Cuba, and I am going to be thawing my toes, and I'm so happy about that. But the most important thing why I'm going is because I'm going to be joining musicians, and so I look forward to that. Our Cuban music is wonderful, it's brilliant, and Maestro, I hope to be bringing back some music, and maybe we can do something here and have a little conga line. You know, you'll never know. So yeah, with great happiness and joy, I am here and just sharing this with you, and I'll be thinking of you. Thank you.
I'm Michael, he, him, and I just wanted to tell you that it's joyful for our congregation that we're resuming our concert program. Blake is giving a concert on March 15th at 7 o'clock. We'll be serving beverages and homemade cakes, I guess, whatever. And so please remember to save the date. We'd like you all to come.
We light one final candle for all the joys and sorrows that remain unexpressed, and for those outside of our walls who are searching for a place to bring the wholeness of their lives and to be received with love.
If it's comfortable for you, please close your eyes and join me in prayer and meditation. with each inhale, let's imagine making a little bit more space inside our chest and our heart. A little more space. Allow acceptance to well up, making space for all the different parts of ourselves, child parts, the older parts, the parts of ourselves that we love, and the parts of ourselves that maybe we have a hard time with. Making space for our whole selves. And let's make space for other people. People we love, people we have a hard time with, people we have a hard time with because they remind us of the parts of ourselves that we have a hard time with, people we consider other or different or wrong, just for right now, just for this moment. Let's make space for them too. Make space for the other creatures of the earth. Trees, mosses and grasses, the birds and fish, the creatures that creep along the ground, those that swarm and those that gallop, the land animals and the microorganisms, the fierce and the gentle. In this space of meditation and prayer, we are in the divine domain, and here there is room for everybody and everything. We'll continue in silence, and then we'll have musical meditation. I want to share with you an excerpt from my new book. And one thing to know, there's a term in here, a Hebrew term, nephesh, which is one of the words for soul. And it's specifically the soul, the level of soul that's most dense, that's most physical. There's like 7, in Jewish mysticism, there's 7 types of soul, 7 levels of soul, ranging from kind of the most ethereal to the most embodied. So the nephesh is kind of our body-soul composite, the one that we might think of as just ourselves that we walk around with. The emoji, often a disembodied head, is the perfect symbol for our new, strange era in which the mind, soul, or self is seen as separate from the body. We participate in the gleaming world of the emoji at the expense of our nefesh. Our bodies wind up in one place, doing one thing, while our sense of self winds up elsewhere. We use the language of travel and experience to describe our online adventures, saying that we go places and do things, forgetting that in truth we are sitting in one place and doing very little. Typically, in the words of one Facebook user, what we're actually doing is sitting in front of a bright picture frame and touching buttons on a tray in a special sequence. From what I've experienced and seen, the loss of what we now call IRL in real life brings profound grief. We don't have a language for this kind of grief. We can't quite put our finger on it. So we often name it something like Zoom fatigue. A scientific account for this fatigue has to do with our brains having to work hard to continually reconcile audio and video, or it's eye strain, or it's carpal tunnel, or back issues. For each of these problems, there's a scientific explanation and often the promise of a technological fix. But as with so many materialist explanations, this approach misses a layer. It misses the profound unnaturalness of the whole enterprise. Like a circus bear forced to balance on a ball, we humans are being made to repeatedly perform for our livelihood an act that denies our nature. I can feel quite literally in my bones that I was not made to be sedentary all day, using only my brain to direct abstracted versions of work and play through a rectangular panel. It's not what my animal body wants. My eyes glaze over. My shoulders sag under the strange weight of this weightless life. I feel my libido draining from me, libido in the larger sense of psychic drive or energy. I was not made for this. I was made to be fully engaged in this life, in all dimensions of my being, working side by side with the people of my community, caring for others with my hands, breathing the outdoor air and gazing at the horizon. The loss of this natural human engagement is painful for me, and I sense that it is for many of us. If we listen carefully, we can almost hear the rending of the nefesh over and over. The body on a couch in New York City, the self in an online game, the body in an Indiana suburban basement, the self at a remote appointment with a doctor, the body in a dark kitchen at 9 p.m. in Mill Valley, California, the self on a Zoom meeting on a sunny morning in Bangalore, India. In the panicked alienation between body and place, place and self, self and body, I imagine the soul rushing back and forth in distress, searching for a natural home that no longer exists. We did not necessarily ask for this bifurcated life, but it happened anyway, first slowly and then quickly. Please rise in body or spirit for our next hymn, number 128, For All That Is Our Life. apologies to those of you watching this online. I should have made the caveat that I'm very glad that you are here, participating as much as you are able from wherever you are, and I hope that you get to go outside today. Okay, so I have 14-year-old twins, and I remember when they were 4 or 5, and I was trying to get them to taste a new food, I would often give them the following speech. Life is like Coney Island. There are all different kinds of rides. Big rides, small rides, fast rides, slow rides. Some of them go up, and some of them go down. Some of them go round and round. Some of them are scary. Some of them are fun. Some of them go really high up in the air and give you a view of the wide, wide ocean. Some take you down into a dark tunnel. So many kinds of rides. And when you reach the end of your life, when it's your turn to die, you are going to look back on your life and wish that you had gone on every ride that you had a chance to go on. You are going to want to have tasted everything that life has to offer, like this Ethiopian pickled beet, for example. The speech didn't work, ever. They would ignore me. They would roll their eyes like little tiny versions of the teenagers that they actually are now. They would start talking about something else. And to be fair, it's probably a lot to ask of 5-year-olds to imagine how they're going to feel at the end of their life. It's probably a lot to ask of anyone. And yet, in a sense, that's what we're here to do. This is the thought and heart experiment that religious practice calls us to. Here and in religious communities around the world, we think about the past and the present and the future. We talk about God and not God, aesthetics, ethics. We pray, we sing, we listen to inspiring music. We read sacred texts and poetry, all to nudge us to step outside of our day-to-day lives and take the broadest possible view, the one from the top of the Coney Island Ferris wheel, the wonder wheel, the view we will have at the end of our lives. We ask ourselves, how can we live now in a way that we'll be happy about having lived as we near death? What will we want our lives to have been about? How will we want to be remembered? How will we want to have touched the world? What will we be proud of, and what will we regret? We can't know for sure, of course. Humans are notoriously bad at predicting how we're going to feel in the future. But it's a kind of truism among ministers who compare notes on these things that the deep regrets that we talk about at the end of our lives are rarely the mistakes we made. They are usually the opportunities that we missed, the risks we didn't take, the times when we played it safe and lived small, the times when we could have swung at a pitch, but we let it go by. Those are the regrets. I don't want us to have those regrets. So I'll try on us the speech that did not work on my 5-year-olds. Life is like a Coney Island. There are all different kinds of rides. And when you reach the end of your life, when it's your turn to die, you're going to look back and know that you're going to wish that you had gone on all of the rides that you had a chance to go on. Now let me tell you what I'm not talking about here. I'm not talking about actual rides. I'm not talking about the kind of adult play that's expensive, has a big carbon footprint, sucks up natural resources, and requires a battalion of minimum wage workers to make it happen. I'm not talking about spending a weekend at a fancy resort. I'm not talking about hiring a crew of Sherpas to haul you up Mount Everest. I'm not talking about buying anything. I'm also not talking about trying things that are truly self-destructive, taking dangerous drugs, having unsafe sex, engaging in self-harm. Those are not the rides that I mean, and I hope that when those opportunities arise in your life that you're able to pass them by. The rides I'm thinking of are the rides that connect us more deeply and vividly to the sacred earth and the life of which we are a part. There are rides of the body. Jump into that lake on your hike. You just don't know. You can't see into the future. You don't know. This may be the last chance you ever have to swim in a lake. You don't know. Taste those Ethiopian pickled beets. It doesn't matter if you don't like beets or the lake water is cold. It's an experiment, and your soul is hungry for it. There are rides of the mind, which Unitarian Universalists tend to be pretty good at already, reading, studying, debating, but challenge yourself to really understand a perspective that's different from your own. Learn a new language. You might understand the world so differently if you learned a Native American language, or Gujarati, or Chinese. And then there are rides of the heart. Take the ultimate risk of loving someone, a romantic partner, a child, a friend. Join a community and commit to it. Start that difficult conversation. Get real with another human being. Look into the eyes of your beloved and tell them that you love them. Let yourself believe that you are loved. The rides of the heart can be the wildest rides. For all of us, if we go on all these rides, there will be ups and downs. We will get hurt. We will fail. And God willing, we will have moments of bliss. There will be times like just when we're rounding the top of a roller coaster and looking 20 stories down to the ground that we'll wish we hadn't climbed aboard for this one. We'll wish we could get off, and we will be unable to. I'm sure we've all had rides like that. To live large is to take the good with the bad. But I sense that our society these days has gotten a little bit cautious. It's like we're living life at arm's length sometimes because it feels easier and safer that way. I read to you a little bit from my new book that talked about the tech aspect of this, how we're living our lives at one level removed so often, substituting the virtual world for the physical world. And this kind of distance permeates our culture in so many ways. We have less and less connection to the land. Few of us get dirt under our fingernails very much. As a society, we're having less sex, less romantic partnership, fewer children. All of our food is packaged in plastic and we don't know where it came from. Strawberries seem to get less flavorful every year, but we can't really remember what they used to taste like. To insist on living life more vividly, not mediated through corporations, not wrapped in plastic, to insist on our own direct experience of this world that we are blessed to be part of so briefly, that is actually profoundly countercultural. And it's exactly what I mean when I say going on all the rides, going on all the real rides in all of their richness and complexity. We can probably all think of a famous person who has lived a life of daring and excitement who could be the poster child for this. But in thinking about this message, I wanted to think of someone who is not famous, who could be a real life example of what I'm talking about. And I thought of my husband, Jeff. Jeff grew up in a very ordinary middle-class home in Massachusetts, and he was a singer in various bands in high school. They smoked a lot of pot and did a lot of things that kids did in the 60s. During his senior year of high school, his rock band got signed to a major label. And so instead of going to college, he found himself recording an album in Canada. He strapped himself in for the ride of a musician's life. Well, the band soon fizzled out. But he spent his 20s as a working musician, playing small gigs at bars and clubs, singing jingles for commercials. As he got older, he decided that it was time to get serious about his life and get a real job. So he became an actor. He threw himself into the art of acting, learning the art of acting, and pretty soon he was getting gigs in New York City. He was in Forbidden Broadway for years. Those years were another wild ride. During that time, he married his first wife, and they had a child. Parenthood, another ride. They moved to Chicago, and Jeff reinvented himself yet again and became a corporate trainer and coach in communication skills. His marriage eventually ended, and a few years later, he got married again to me. And then, when Jeff was 57 years old, he became a father again to twins. Today, in addition to parenting and continuing his professional work, Jeff spends much of his available time as a leader in climate activism. Yet another learning curve, another ride, and another stage of his life's work. Now, I tell you all this not to brag about my husband, although that is fun, but to say that your life does not need to look glamorous from the outside to be extraordinary from the inside. Only you can know if you are living with full vitality and swinging at the good pitches that life sends you. You can feel it in yourself. One good sign might be that your life always freaks you out just a little bit. To live this way is to take the ride that I would call the ride of the Spirit. This is the kind of ride where nothing picks us up and buckles us in and carries us along and powers our engine except for hope and faith. Faith in our highest power and our deepest self. Like any ride, a ride of the Spirit has roller coasters of ups and downs. There are bitter disappointments as well as wonderful successes and joys. But a ride of the Spirit is a life of meaning. Life is like Coney Island. There are lots and lots of rides. Rides of the body, mind, heart, and spirit. And the fact is that we can't go on all of them. There are too many, and our time in this life is too short. Some rides are thrust upon us and we have no option to get off, poverty or an illness. Others we can't get a ticket for even if we desperately want it. But for all of the other rides, the ones that we can choose, I want to suggest that we all make ourselves a promise that when we turn one down, let it be for a damn good reason. Let it be because it's immoral, or it would hurt someone, or it would be truly dangerous. But don't let it be because we might not like it. Don't let it be because we'll do it online instead. Don't let it be because we're scared. Don't let it be because we're clinging to the past. Don't let it be because we don't want our ideas challenged. For God's sake, don't let it be because we might get our heart broken. And don't let it be because we think that the little bit of good that we can do on that ride won't make a difference, because it will. At the end of our life, when it's our turn to die, we're going to look back on our lives and wish we had gone on every ride that we could. The author, Hunter S. Thompson, put it perfectly. Life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, loudly proclaiming, "Wow, what a ride." Let's rise in body or spirit for our final hymn, number 151, I Wish I Knew How.
Each week, we make an offering from the bounty we are blessed to enjoy. We do this in the spirit of love and generosity, aware that we have benefited from those who have gone before, those that in their turn gave generously. Our offering goes to support the work of love and justice undertaken by this community. Today, we share the plate with the Emergency Shelter Partnership, a collaboration of local houses of worship providing short-term emergency shelter and nutritious meals to unhoused adults during the coldest months of the year. On February 13th, 14th, and 15th, teams in our congregation gathered to prepare a hot dinner and bagged breakfast and lunch. The offering will now be given. Wait. Where is it? Okay, you can make your donation in several ways. If present in the sanctuary, you may give cash or check in the offering plate as it comes by. From your homes, you may make a donation via credit card or PayPal using the links provided in the e-newsletter or by visiting our website, uuchudsonvalley.org. Or if you prefer, you may always mail us a check. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. Join me in the dedication of the offering. The words are in your order of service. May these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as a community of faith. Now please join me in extinguishing the chalice. The words are in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
As we go out into the world today, may we go with spaciousness and curiosity and an eagerness to taste all of the weird and wild blessings of this world.
It's a carousel or a cabaret.
Coming here I would say, is the longest ride I've been on.
Yep. Right.